Okay, good afternoon, conversation one. Today I would like to talk about good luck and bad luck. But before we do, some of you didn't get the memo about the Zoom meeting. So I think the Monday classes more people missed. But it turns out that my understanding of the cyber campus is a little bit flawed. One of the reasons some people didn't get the Zoom meeting information was that there are different options and how you can post information. So there's something called Chalioshil, which translates more like to bulletin or something. And Kwamo Kongji is notice. Now, I didn't realize there was a difference in the function of these two things. To me, notice and bulletin mean pretty much the same thing. But in the cyber campus, I use Korean. I was told you can switch it to English, but I'm not actually sure how to do that. And it's good for me to practice Hangul anyway. So anyway, long story short, I posted it the wrong way. So, and I did that again today, but I posted it twice. So now it's posted on the bulletin and the notice. So you should be able to see that there's a notice that says midterm schedule for all of you, the 3 conversation classes. You should be able to open up the Excel spreadsheet and see what time you're supposed to have your midterm. The Zoom information will be posted soon, okay? So check your schedule first, and the Zoom meeting information will also go up today or tomorrow. I've already got the meetings scheduled on Zoom. I just have to copy and paste the information. So that will be there too. I think the first class on Monday already has the Zoom meeting information. So there are 2, remember, we're separating into 2 groups. So there's an April 19th and 20th group in week 8, and there's another group in week 9, because each person has about 10 minutes for their slot. So make sure you check that information. If you skipped or didn't know or accidentally were unable in some way to attend last week our Zoom sessions, then please look at the Cyber Campus and check your time. Okay, quickly to recap what I said in the Zoom meeting. I'm not gonna go over the 30-minute speech that I made about how to evaluate you and so on, because you missed that part. But there are going to be 2 questions, okay? The questions should be a couple minutes long. Basically, I'm expecting somewhere around 5 or 6 minutes per student. And there's a few minutes, of joining the interview and then leaving, and maybe, a small amount of chit chat. Just, how are you today? Are you ready? Don't be nervous. Okay, we're gonna start now. It's a certain amount of time just to start the interview and end it. And so your answers should add up to about 5 minutes. If it's a little bit shorter than that, no problem. If it's a little bit longer, no problem. If your interview is 2 minutes long total, right? You have 2 answers and you answer 30 seconds and 30 seconds, and I ask you questions, that's too short, okay? It should be around, the interview that we have should be somewhere around 5 minutes long. That's it. You don't need to worry about that. As I explained, I'm looking for complete answers. What does that mean? Well, each question is a little bit different. You need a certain level of detail. You have to speak long enough so I can judge your ability. And you need to, start the question by making a statement. And then you need to explain yourself and give examples. And then you need to have some sort of concluding sentence, that indicates that you're done. And that's why I'm interested in this job. And that signals to me that your answer is over. Okay? Those are the basic things. I talked about other things too. But once again, I am going to upload a short midterm review video next weekend. In week 8, there is going to be no new content, no new topic, just me uploading a review for you of all the questions we've done so far. So there will be, the first question will be your self-introduction, and the second will be from the 6 chapters that we will have done after I do luck today. So today's topic is about luck. Now, I think the first thing to deal with is, what is luck? To a certain extent, people who are skeptical, including me, don't believe in luck, right? However, when you're in the situation, it's hard not to have this natural human instinct that everything's not random, and that some people have some source of positive energy that gives them an advantage over other people. So luck is something that you can't control. Luck is something superstitious people believe in, and they believe in objects or situations or events that happen because of the universe, because of some connection to this thing we call luck. In the classical era, the ancient Roman people, they believed that luck was a kind of skill. It's an interesting idea. I'm a huge fan of Roman culture, and I study it in my free time. I know that sounds strange, that you would want to read about things that sometimes in high school people force you to, but it's just something that I've always been curious about. Is Roman culture is fascinating to me, and what the things that they did. And a lot of Western culture has its roots in Rome. You call it, in Korean, you call it Roma, right? Loma. That's the city, and that's the name of the empire. And of course, you can go to Rome and see the leftovers, the bones, the ruins of Roman civilization there. They believed that luck was kind of a gift or a talent that you had. For example, Julius Caesar always had the advantage. People actually started to, and he was lucky. Things like weather conditions and other people's decisions affecting, how his battles went, or when he planned everything seemed to line up for him, no matter what he did. Of course, the man was a genius, and he was a dangerous individual, and he was like other military and political figures. He was loved and hated by people, but basically whatever he did seemed to, at least until he was assassinated, seemed to work out in his favor. Napoleon had a similar, string of events. Obviously, his intelligence and his personality had a lot to do with the outcome. It wasn't just luck, but also he seemed to be very fortunate in how conditions, set him up for victory. So yeah, people started to believe that they couldn't beat Julius Caesar because the gods were on his side. No matter what they did, how they planned, and how much effort they gave, that they would still be defeated. And that's why they ended up, in the end, a whole bunch of them rushing at him and stabbing him to death, because they couldn't figure out how to beat the guy, because he was always protected somehow by circumstances. So if you do believe in luck, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. You still have to admit, when you look at, how things go on a certain day or in your life, that you might feel like sometimes everything goes wrong, and you feel like sometimes everything goes right. To be honest, I think there's a lot of perspective involved in that. People who are positive tend to believe that things are going to go well, and they do. And the same thing might happen to two people, and one person might consider themselves luckier than another, because that just has to do with perspective, right? If you're an optimist, you're going to see the glass is half full. And if you're a pessimist, you're going to see it as half empty. So you are going to apply that to luck as well. Somebody is probably going to believe that they're lucky, and their life is very similar to another person who thinks they're unlucky. So I'm going to give you the choice. I'm going to give you the choice of talking about the best day of your life or the worst day of your life. And you can talk about this in terms of luck. You don't have to believe in it, but you can say that something is unlucky or lucky because it just happened randomly. So we're going to have a kind of open definition of luck here. Some people are going to say, oh, well, I went to write my, university entrance exam, the Sunung. That's a popular choice for people to talk about that day. You want to do as much as possible. Obviously, you want to study hard, and it's not a matter of luck. But on that morning, you want to get up early, and you don't want to eat anything slippery or that's symbolically related to falling. I've heard that Koreans are very superstitious about this, because any small thing helps. The Sunung has got hundreds of thousands of people, tens of thousands of people anyway, young people writing, and the difference between each person is so small that it can seem like it's related to luck. So you want to come into contact with sticky things, right? Something sticky like rice cake. You can stick it to the wall, you can eat it, whatever, but something that sticks. This is symbolically related to, retaining information and performing well on your exam. Whereas something that's slippery or wet that would be associated with falling or mistakes should be avoided. I've heard this. I don't know if people are still doing this, but older Koreans believe these things. Okay, so in just like that, in the textbook they give you a few examples of things that Westerners tend to still, just in case, believe might have an impact. Right? Friday the 13th there is the first one in the list. There's a very interesting history behind Friday the 13th. The long and the short of it is that there was a day that was chosen for a king to take advantage of revenge on a knightly order, a crusader order of knights in the Middle Ages. And they were called the Knights of the Templar. And they were very famous. They were very wealthy, and they were an international organization. They were based basically in what is now France, where the Franks lived. It was turning into France, and Germany and Spain. They were across Europe. They were a pan-European group, and they were founded during the Crusades in order to help protect the Holy Land. And there were members all over the place, but the majority of them were in France. And this was a problem for the King of France, because he thought they were too powerful. But they were, a church order. They were a part of the Catholic Church. And so it was difficult to get rid of them. But basically he chose a day. He prepared a plan to get rid of all of these Templars, and on Friday the 13th he executed that. And he executed them. He imprisoned and confiscated land and attacked the Knights of the Templar and basically wiped them out. And the legend has it that there was a curse on that action, sort of beyond the grave revenge, so that Friday the 13th would always be a cursed day. Especially for the King of France, but basically all Westerners wanted to avoid doing anything that would, associate them with the curse on Friday the 13th. And it survived, so that story of the, negative bad luck associated with the number 13 and Friday the 13th in particular survived until it still survives. People in the United States built buildings and skipped the number 13 in the hotel or the apartment building. They just, there's no number 13. The 13th floor doesn't exist. They've built buildings like this, and they're so concerned that people won't want to live on the 13th floor, or especially in a hotel, stay there because something bad might happen, that they would just not put the number. Of course, the 14th floor is the 13th floor, but the number would not be, in the list. So it's a very interesting superstitious belief. There's also some horror movies, if you like horror. Some people, I'm not a big fan, but I did watch some of these movies. There is a 1980s horror movie series called Friday the 13th, and there's a character named Jason who wears a hockey mask and goes around with chainsaws attacking people. So you can check that out too. That's a modern, more recent manifestation of the Friday the 13th myth. You got your don't walk under ladders here. Comet passing the sky, very fortuitous event. The comet passing, astrological events and interpretation of the sky is always important in superstition. So some people think, when a comet goes by, that's a signal of something important happening on Earth as well. I don't think there is any association with, frozen rock flying through space, going past our sun and then leaving the solar system, but some people. The horseshoe there is a very famous example of good luck, because blacksmiths were seen as special, had the special talent, granted them by God originally. They could, their role was very important for the village, and it was seen as a blessed profession, that they were lucky. Because they had the talent to make shoes for horses and tools and weapons, and they could mold metal. And to a certain extent, God also is a kind of smith, in that he created human beings and animals from material, and he was capable of turning them into living things. And so he's the heavenly blacksmith, and then you have the local blacksmith. And the symbol of the blacksmith was a horseshoe. So you put a horseshoe above your door, and that would bless your house and protect your house from evil spirits, because the blacksmith was a symbol of holiness. Right, crossing the fingers there also. You got making a cross is a way for you to protect yourself from evil as well. You got the black cat there, which is associated with witches and devils and Halloween and everything. I mean, the tradition goes way back, but essentially a black cat is a kind of familiar. It's supposed to be controlled by a possessed person, an evil person. So the black cat is representative of evil. Of course, black cats are nice cats, just like all the other cats that are orange and brown and other colors. But that was something that started to become part of pop culture more recently. So black cats, don't let a black cat cross your path is the superstition. Yeah, don't break mirrors because that's 7 years bad luck. I'm not actually sure why it's 7 years, but 7 is normally a lucky number in the Bible and in Western culture. But in this case, if you break a mirror, you get 7 years bad luck. And then there's a 4-leaf clover there, which is supposed to be uncommon, but there's actually lots of 4-leaf clovers, and there are 5-leaf and 7-leaf clovers as well. A 7-leaf clover is even luckier, just so you know. Okay, that tends to be associated with Irish luck, but of course the Irish they have a symbol called a shamrock, but the 4-leaf clover is sometimes connected to Irish culture, although they don't really believe in it any more than anybody else does. It's more of an Irish American thing, if anything. Okay, so I've discussed a bunch of examples here. Some people have lucky socks. Some people have lucky necklaces, talismans, objects that they have. A lucky shirt, lucky pants, whatever. You might have a ring. These are all possible things that you can talk about. But yeah, I want you to talk about a situation, okay, where things went really well or things didn't go very well. So one of your, most fortunate days or one of your most unfortunate days. So I usually say, tell me about one of the best days of your life or one of the worst days of your life, your choice. Again, be careful with the unlucky, sad days. If it makes you feel sad, too emotional, then don't talk about that in the interview because that's not helpful for your performance. In the book here, they have a description of a super lucky situation, but I want you to choose just one day because I think you can talk about it in more detail. It's easier to manage the grammar as well. In the book, there's a combination of bad luck and good luck. It says, 2 years ago, Bill got a job as an engineer. That's when he met Lucy. Then he got sick. He went to the hospital and he got worse. So maybe it was a bad thing that he met Lucy. And he nearly died. Then suddenly he got better. And when he came out of the hospital, he bought a lottery ticket. It had the winning number and he got rich. Then Bill and Lucy decided to get engaged. Next year they are going to get married. Well, that was a dramatic turnaround. You don't have to talk about bad luck and good luck, but you can. That's fine too. If you want to talk about a day that started out really badly and then it turned around and it turned into a lucky day, or the other way around, it seemed very lucky and then it ended up being unlucky, that's fine. Just choose a memory, choose a day, and talk about that day. So you want to use the past tense. It's got to be something, in your life that you experienced. There are regular and irregular verbs. The irregular verbs just have to be memorized. I'm sorry, we have irregular verbs, but somebody started saying the word differently in the past tense. And so regular verbs just use the ending ed. So you got want, wanted, talk, talked. And in the past, it was talked, right? The ed was pronounced. You got to be careful with the pronunciation of some of the regular verbs because walk, ed, and talked are not pronounced that way. You have to squish it into one syllable. So you have to say walked, as if there's a T there instead of an ed. And you have to say talked. That's one of the things Koreans sometimes don't realize when they're learning English because it's counterintuitive. Why would you have an ed if it's not going to be pronounced ed, right? Wanted, want, wanted, talk, talk it. It's logical, but that's not how we say it. My son is in grade 1 in elementary school, and basically whenever he comes across an irregular verb, he says it wrong, and I say, no, you can't say it like that. The most common one that he uses is win. He likes to say, I winned against him. or because he's competitive, he's like me. He likes sports and he likes to talk about winning. So when he uses past tense, he said, I winned. And I say, you can't say win. That's actually something that blows the air around outside. That's wind. You have to say won. It's the past tense of win is won. It's an irregular verb. He's got it now, but it took a month or two of saying wind before we corrected that. And it's just one of those things you have to memorize. There's a lot of different ones. I wake up, I woke up. Wake, woke. There's no waked. There's a lot of them. Sorry. But I just teach the language. I didn't create it. So, there's sentences here on page 69 you can take a look at. I just wanted to get back to work. Fortunately, I got my old job back. This is something that happened before. I had a heart attack. I was in a coma for several days. That's pretty morbid. This is bad luck, clearly. I suddenly woke up 12 days later. I felt great. That's better. Good luck. I decided to ask my girlfriend to marry me, and she said yes. I bought a lottery ticket. I shouted. I won $100,000. That's not actually rich. You should have said $1 million. These days, $100,000 doesn't go that far. So $1 million or 10 million? Okay, so there's some examples there. There's affirmative, which means you agree to something, and there's negative, which means it's not something, or you disagree. And when you ask a question, you have to change the syntax a little bit. So you're gonna use the past tense. So you say, "Did you want your old job back?" Yes, I did. Affirmative. No, I didn't. Negative. Okay? You have to look this over. I know grammar is not the most exciting thing to study, so I don't teach it that much. But if you do want to, you should improve your grammar, because usually that's the lowest. Most people have trouble with grammar. That's the lowest average score on the evaluation for midterms and exams in conversation. Grammar is always the weakest point in general. Not everybody has bad grammar, but I do. When I speak French, my grammar is pretty bad. So in your second language, it's something that you need to be aware of, and there are different rules that you might not have learned as you were growing up, like you did in Korean or Chinese or Vietnamese or whatever your first language is. So you do have to sort of be aware of them. So have a look at page 69. It's important for this question, and we frequently use the past tense when we're talking about anything, because if you're going to tell somebody about something that happened, it's got to be in the past tense. So it's a normal tense that you need to be comfortable with, and you do have to learn a lot of irregular verbs if you want to sound fluent. Okay? So check that page out in particular, and please prepare your answer for unlucky day or a lucky day, a great day or a terrible day, best or worst. It's all the same thing. All right, and that's the last topic for the midterm. So there's 6. You have to remember to do a good job of your self-introduction, and then practice those 6 topics for the midterm. And that's it until I'm going to do the review next week, and we'll have our midterm. I'll see you on Zoom in a couple weeks. Thank you for listening. Have a great day, and see you soon.